Hello everyone, JD here and welcome to this week's Talking News. So this is my first week back following some paternity leave and I would like to send a massive thank you to everyone who sent their kind wishes to me and my family. It's really so much appreciated. We're all doing well and it's so lovely to be back and making a good start catching up with all the team here. August is traditionally a slightly quieter period around Millbrook House, but there's still plenty going on around the building. We're using this time to dot out the I's and cross the T's around the building, progress some of the improvement works and review our plans and prepare for another busy few months ahead. We're also continuing to develop our new opportunities for our members and the wider community. So this includes progressing our activities, partnership working, accessibility projects and an exciting new project from Past Futures, a heritage retrospective project. So that's going to be coming out soon, and alongside the planning of our return of regular groups and services after the summer period. So although the building may feel a little quieter, the team is continuing to work hard as always, making sure that we're ready for the autumn and that Sight for White and White Sense stress for less, that we can all continue to provide the best possible support to people across the island.
Here is this week's charity news for the 7th of August 2026.
Just a reminder that all member activities have now stopped for August and will reopen on Tuesday 1st of September. Please note that the office here at Millbrook will remain open throughout the month, so please call or pop in and see us if you need any help and advice.
Yoga will restart in September at Millbrook House on Tuesday afternoons between 2 p.m. and 3 p.m. The group will only start depending on numbers showing an interest. Please call the office for more details or to put your name on the list.
We're busy tidying and sorting Millbrook House ready for September. Planning for future fundraising events and the rotas for all the activities starting in September are well underway. We are always looking for new ideas for fundraising, along with suitable raffle prizes for events held. So if you have any, please pop into Millbrook or drop off when next visiting.
September, we will once again be holding our EYED, the White Sponsored Cycle Ride. Staff, volunteers and members will clock up the miles and be displayed within the hallway at Millbrook. If you or a family member enjoy cycling, please ask them to get sponsorship or maybe suggest they ride to work one day and donate their travel money. If you would like a sponsor form, please call the office and we can arrange for one to be sent to you.
Our annual short story writing competition is now live, and this year the theme is Love, Hope and Courage. Adult stories should be between 1,500 and 2,000 words. Children's stories, 12 to 17 age, up to 750 words. 8 to 11 years age, up to 500 words, and under 8s, up to 250 words, and pictures can be used. For more details or for an entry form, please call the office and speak to Chris. This could be your summer project whilst the activities are on break, or encourage grandchildren and family members to enter. Lots of lovely prizes on offer.
This is Michael reading an article from Isle of Wight Radio. Ireland's young sailors crowned RS Fever World Champions. 2 talented young Isle of Wight sailors have been crowned world champions after an outstanding session of success on the international stage. Supported by Whitelink, Cassius Day and his sailing partner Harry O'Callaghan claimed the RS Fever World Championship title following a dominant performance at Travemünde, northern Germany. The pair competed against a fleet of 138 boats from 18 countries and secured 6 race victories to take the overall championship in challenging conditions. There was also more success for fellow Isle of Wight talented athletes Hannah Yates and Fallon Day, who finished as the third girls pairing in the world of 11th overall after competing against some of the strongest young sailors from across the globe. Representing the Royal Victoria Yacht Club and Gurnard Sailing Club, the island sailors showcase the strength of youth sailing talent being developed on the Isle of Wight. For Cassius and Harry, the world title completed an unbeaten season in the RS Fever class. Over the past year, they have also won the national championships, inland championships, spring championships, and the RYA Eric Twyname Youth and Junior Championships. Royal Victoria Yacht Club Commodore Jane Barrett Bellingham said, "Huge congratulations to all the young sailors for their recent sailing campaigns, resulting in an incredible win on the world stage. Also to their parents and support teams for all the early mornings and logistical support that we see throughout the long winters at club level. A big shout out also to White Link for all their partnership support for the talented athletes on the Isle of Wight too." Cassius also enjoyed further success alongside his sister Fallon, representing Ryde School, with the pair winning the Ichinor National Schools Championships for a record 3rd consecutive year, and the RS Fever class. Meanwhile, Hannah and Fallon rounded off an exceptional season together by being crowned overall winners of the RS Fever 2025/26 Grand Prix Series. Cassius and Fallon's parents said, "The most enormous thank you to White Link for the ferry assistance in helping us get our young sailors and their boats to training and competitions year-round." Sam Woodman, Partnerships Marketing Manager at White Link, said, "Everyone at White Link is incredibly proud of what Cassius, Harry, Fallon and Hannah have achieved. To see 4 young island sailors competing against the very best in the world and returning home with a world championship title and more outstanding results is truly inspiring. We know the commitment required to compete at this level, and we're delighted to have helped support them. They are fantastic ambassadors for the Isle of Wight, and we congratulate them on an exceptional season. The latest achievements underline the Isle of Wight's reputation for producing world-class sailing talent, while inspiring the next generation of young sailors hoping to follow in their wake."
This is Patrina reading from the Isle of Wight Radio. Princess Royal opens UKSA's new Maritime Education Centre in East Cowes. The UKSA has officially opened its new Maritime Education Centre at the historic Victoria Barracks in East Cowes, marking a major milestone in the charity's mission to inspire young people and develop the next generation of maritime professionals. The transformed site will provide additional capacity for education, training and skills development, enabling UKSA to support more young people and adults into maritime careers. It will also offer improved facilities to help children and families connect with and enjoy the sea. The centre was formally opened on Monday by UKSA's Royal Patron, HRH, the Princess Royal, who was accompanied by Vice Admiral Sir Timothy Lawrence. The project is the result of several years of planning and partnership between UKSA and the Isle of Wight Council, supported through a combination of public funding, charitable donations and philanthropic backing. Catherine Dixon, Chief Executive of UKSA, said, "The opening of Victoria Barracks is a landmark moment for UKSA and for the future of maritime education. This new centre significantly expands our ability to inspire and support children, young people and adults, helping them develop the skills, qualifications and confidence they need to thrive. We are deeply grateful to the supporters, donors, funders and partners who have helped make this vision a reality. Together, we have brought an important historic building back into use and created a lasting asset that will benefit generations to come. Victoria Barracks will help more people experience the transformational power of the sea, opening up opportunities and widening access to maritime education and careers for people from all backgrounds. UKSA says the new centre will play a key role in tackling skills shortages across the maritime sector by increasing access to training and maritime experiences. The charity hopes Victoria Barracks will help more children and young people build confidence, gain qualifications, and discover career opportunities on the water."
This is Michael reading an article from Ireland Echo. Radar and thermal cameras planned in maritime surveillance upgrade at the Needles. Radar thermal imaging cameras and CCTV could soon be installed at the Needles under plans submitted for a new surveillance mast at a lookout station overlooking the western Solent. The application, submitted by Sirius Constellation Limited, seeks permission to replace an existing 6.5-metre portable mast with a permanent 10.5mm galvanised steel lattice mast attached to the rear of the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency station at the Needles. The new structure would, for the first time, support a radar antenna, thermal imaging camera and 4 CCTV cameras. Although the application form gives little indication of why the equipment is being installed, supporting documents reveal it has been selected to meet Home Office contractual requirements. No further details are provided about the Home Office contract, the specific maritime surveillance operations involved, or which organisation will operate the equipment. The site is owned by the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency, with a volunteer-led National Coast Watch institution continuing to operate the lookout station. The planning application is now being considered by Isle of Wight Council, with a decision due by the 28th of September.
This is Petrina reading from the Island Echo. PCC calls on Isle of Wight residents to have their say on policing shake-up. The Police and Crime Commissioner for Hampshire and the Isle of Wight is urging residents to have their say on the government's proposed overhaul of policing, warning that local voices must not be overlooked as planned for major structural changes move forward. The appeal comes after the government announced proposals in January 2026 to reduce England and Wales' 43 police forces to a larger regional organisation. An independent review is currently examining how the changes should be implemented, but the Commissioner has raised concerns that it is not actively seeking the views of the public. The Commissioner says the proposals could have a direct impact on how policing is delivered across Hampshire and the Isle of Wight, making it vital that local communities have the opportunity to influence the debate. The Police and Crime Commissioner has said, "Policing works best when it is rooted in the communities it serves. Local accountability, visibility, and the responsiveness matter and must not be lost in any move towards larger, more centralised structures. That is why I'm encouraging residents of Hampshire and the Isle of Wight to take part in this consultation. Your views are essential in making sure local voices are heard and considered as part of the national conversation on the future of policing. Residents are being encouraged to share their views, with the Commissioner saying the feedback will help ensure any future decisions better reflect the needs and expectations of communities across Hampshire and the Isle of Wight."
Good morning. This week's Talking News is read by myself, John.
And me, Carolyn.
Here are the news items. Group fights on in bid to buy Town Hall after blow by Oliver Dyer. The group behind a bid to buy Ryde Town Hall has vowed to explore every possible avenue to revive the landmark after its funding plans suffered a major blow. Ryde Revival, a community interest company, CIC, said it was disappointed after Ryde Neighbourhood Board, RNB, decided not to pursue buying the building. RNB is an independent partnership set up under the government's plan for neighbourhoods. The CIC hoped RNB would fund a straightforward purchase of the Lynn Street site, which closed in 2010. Ryde Revival would have owned the freehold, with an asset lock ensuring the building would pass to Ryde Town Council if needed. Ryde Revival presented RNB with a business case and hoped it would win funding, but RNB voted unanimously not to pursue the purchase over financial risks and uncertainty about the building's condition. Interim Chair Rachel Randall said, "Whilst we share the community's aspirations for the building, the information available to us indicates that acquiring it at this stage would present a significant financial risk." In a statement to the county press, Ryde Revival, formed of Ryde residents Helen Keegan, James Longford and Mark Walker, said the Pride in Place funding is intended to support exactly this type of project. The statement said, "We believe this represents the last realistic opportunity to secure the building's future, and that losing this landmark heritage asset for the community would significantly undermine wider efforts to regenerate Ryde." Ryde Revival recognises that the board is not able to own the building directly. However, we hope Pride in Place funding can still be used to support a community-led group in developing a full business case and ultimately to support a new owner as they pursue opportunities for wider grant funding and financial backing. We have already presented our proposal to the board and requested its assistance in enabling a robust and credible plan to be properly considered. Ryde Revival said it believes the town deserves a hall for all and will continue exploring every possible avenue to secure the future of the building. Isle of Wight Festival boss John Giddings, a patron for the CIC, is backing Ryde Revival's bid. The board said it would welcome future proposals backed by a clear and costed plan.
Boys assaulted by holiday park worker. A registered sex offender sought out a job as an arcade attendant at an island holiday park, allowing him to prey on young boys. Aaron Hamilton has now been jailed for 4 years after he groped 3 boys while they played on amusement machines at Whitecliff Bay Holiday Park in Bembridge, an away resorts site. He lured them in by giving them 2p coins and free turns on the arcade machines before touching them. In court, the 37-year-old admitted to 8 child sex offences. Questions have been put to Away Resorts as to how a convicted sex offender was working at the family holiday site. An Away Resorts spokesperson said Hamilton was not an employee of the company and was instead employed by Play Nation, a third-party business responsible for operating arcade services. Play Nation has repeatedly declined to comment in response to questions by the county press.
Vegetarian Cafe is on couple's menu by Alex Cooper. A couple have opened a vegetarian cafe in the heart of Ventnor with the aim of serving affordable homemade food in a vibrant and artistic setting. Molly Scott and Sid Burren have established Feed Your Head on Church Street in the town centre. Molly previously ran the cafe at Ventnor Botanic Gardens, and Sid, an artist and photographer, previously ran the shop Witch on the High Street. He has also just completed an exhibition at Dimbola Lodge in Freshwater. The couple decided they would like another venture, and Molly her own cafe. She said, "It has been a bit of whirlwind. We talked about it for a while, and we were about to go on holiday, but the shop came up and we just went for it. It's something I always wanted to do. We're quite good at creating spaces. We've been taking all the art from the exhibition and putting it on the walls here. The reaction has been better than I ever could have imagined." Feed Your Head serves vegetarian food, including toasties and a dish of the day. So far, Molly has served up lentil dal and sweet potato and chickpea Thai curry. Molly said the cafe will serve vegan versions of most dishes too, but it isn't exclusively vegan, and she feels proud to open the business in Ventnor. She said, "The cafe is somewhere nice to go with all homemade food. It's somewhere to come and hang out and share the space. I wouldn't want to do it anywhere else but Ventnor. It's quite up and coming now, I think, one of the only bohemian places on the island. It's a really good place to be. It's definitely the place to open and seems to be where our people are at." At Ventnor Fringe, comedian Ahir Shah gave the new shop a shout-out during his shows, boosting its profile in its early stages. Local businesses have also been sharing the news and helping Feed Your Head, including nearby skincare boutique Blue Label.
Phone returns from watery grave. The owner of a still-working iPhone recovered from the sea off the island has been tracked down, roughly a week after it was thought to have been lost. The device was found by snorkeler Pete Heather on the seabed off Freshwater Bay on Saturday, August the 1st. Pete said, "I was hoping to capture some marine life, not modern technology." He took the phone home, charged it, and was amazed when it switched on. After a county press appeal, 2 people said the phone might be theirs, but both were wrong. In the meantime, Pete managed to access the device's medical ID information, which listed the owner's emergency contacts. One contact put the county press in touch with the phone's owner, Cara Arundel, from Salisbury. Cara, 25, said she was on the Isle of Wight from July the 29th to the 31st for her father's 60th birthday. On July the 30th, Cara and her partner James went kayaking off Freshwater Bay. Cara said, "I stupidly said, let's take all of our valuables in the kayak. The kayak capsized, dropping both phones. Cara's phone was found, but James's is still missing. Cara said she was shocked to receive a call from the county press saying her phone had been found. When I dropped it, I thought, that's it, gone. I even bought a new one," she said. I thought, oh well, I'll never find it again. Then I had a call and I thought, what are the chances?
Festival Feel on Bustling Waterfront by Laurie Little. Cows Week 2026 brought a festival feel to the waterfront, with the Solent racing the perfect backdrop of a week-long celebration along the parade, esplanade and marinas. The Regatta Village on Cowes Parade was one of the main hubs, lined with food stalls, pop-up bars and promotional stalls, and offering one of the best vantage points to watch fleets funnel through the Solent. Families drifted between the youth sailing zone with free tri-sailing sessions, simulators and giant beach games, and street entertainers and pavement traders in the high street, where buskers, magicians and walkabout acts offered a reason to stop. A bustling après-sale social scene saw everything from opening socials and competitors' parties to sea shanty evenings and late-night live bands. During the day, Northwood House and its lawns added a more relaxed tea garden atmosphere, complete with cakes and cocktails, while at night there were events ranging from Vernon Kay DJing to Paul Oakenfold. Official destination sponsor, Nassau and Paradise Island Promotion Board, held events including a Bahamian-inspired three-course lunch for guests. Tonight, Friday, it is the return of the Cows Week fireworks.
Dog walker ran for life on crossing. A former Isle of Wight councillor feared she and her dog were inches from being killed when a driver failed to stop at a zebra crossing. Former Sandown North Ward councillor and current town councillor Debbie Andre was crossing at the Melville Street and the Broadway Junction at about 12:40 p.m. last Saturday. A Mini stopped, but a vehicle travelling the other way did not. She said she was in the middle of the crossing when she realised the car would not stop. Councillor Andre, 64, said she had to run for her life as the car missed her by inches. The Mini driver stopped after seeing what happened and remarked on how close it was before leaving. Shaken by the near miss, Councillor Andre rang police but was initially told nothing could be done without witnesses. A family in a car behind the offending vehicle pulled over, saying they saw what happened and had the registration number. Councillor Andre said she reported it again but has not yet had a call back. Police said they received a report at around 4 p.m. of a vehicle not stopping at a zebra crossing. Inquiries are believed to be ongoing. If anyone has any information or saw what happened, they are urged to contact police on 101, quoting reference number 4426037051.
Campaign to help kind neighbours rebuild after fire by Oliver Dyer. A fundraiser has been launched for a family who lost nearly all of their belongings in a fire. A blaze broke out at a property in a close called the Paddock near Apps Heath last Saturday. The fire is thought to have been caused by an electrical fault with a freezer in the kitchen. The fire service said 40% of the property was damaged by flames, while 90% was affected by smoke. Clothes, furniture, personal keepsakes, and everyday essentials were all ruined or deemed unsafe to use. Chloe Barrett has now set up a GoFundMe for her neighbours and their children to lift some of the heavy burden and show the family the community has their back. It reads, "These are neighbours who would do anything for anyone. Kind, generous, and always ready with a helping hand, they are the type of people who never hesitate to support others and would never dream of asking for anything in return. I'm calling on everyone across the Isle of Wight to come together as we so often do. Whether you can spare £5, £20, or whatever you can comfortably afford, every single penny will make a difference and go directly to helping them rebuild their lives. No donation is too small, and every gesture means the world." Chloe said they have already provided some food and supplies for their dog, but there's more to be done. Between emergency accommodation, clearing and repairing the property, and replacing the basics most of us take for granted, the costs are mounting fast, she said. Let's show our neighbours that they're not alone and that the Isle of Wight community stands united behind them. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for your kindness, generosity and support. Fire crews from Newport, Ryde, Shanklin and Ventnor were all called to the fire at shortly before 4 p.m. Firefighters wearing breathing apparatus put the blaze out using hose reel jets. Crews left the scene by 5:20 p.m. You can donate to the fundraiser at GoFundMe/92094 c f 4.
Muffin found after 7 weeks. A search operation to find a missing dog called Muffin has been successful after a 7-week effort. Drone SAR for Lost Dogs, Isle of Wight, confirmed 2 of the voluntary team safely captured the dog on Sunday. Muffin has since been taken for assessment with an experienced animal welfare volunteer and will go to the vets for a check-up and treatment with the agreement of Muffin's owners. The efforts to find Muffin lasted 7 weeks after he was last seen on the morning of Thursday, June the 11th. The miniature dachshund was last spotted in the Gatcombe and Chillerton area before he was found. He was described by his owners as extremely nervous. Tracker Dog congratulated Drone SAR for Lost Dogs Isle of Wight and thanked their volunteers throughout the search.
Iconic cliff lift is back in action. The iconic cliff lift in Shanklin is up and running again. The Isle of Wight Council said the lift reopened following the completion of mechanical repairs. The lift, part of an essential route connecting the cliff top to Shanklin seafront, had been out of action for longer than expected due to difficulties sourcing specialist parts. Michael Beston of Shanklin Town Council said, "I hope residents and visitors alike enjoy once again having easy access to our wonderful seafront and everything Shanklin has to offer." He described the cliff lift as an iconic landmark and an essential link between the town and the seafront. It is particularly important for those with limited mobility, families with young children, local businesses and our tourism economy, said Councillor Beston. Sourcing parts for older structures remains an ongoing challenge, he said.
Nuisance caller, solicitors hate me. A serial nuisance caller who damaged a post office window has claimed all local solicitors hate him. He asked to be sentenced in Portsmouth, then complained about the cost and sought a longer adjournment. Michael Clifton Smith of High Street, Ventnor, appeared at the Isle of Wight Crown Court. He admitted criminal damage and a public order offence towards a woman. The 38-year-old damaged a window at Ventnor Post Office on September the 4th, 2025, causing £200 worth of damage. An unrepresented Clifton Smith said he hit the window accidentally in a fit of accidental anger, adding, "I don't even remember it." Clifton Smith, who has been a court regular due to his persistent nuisance calls to the emergency services, said he could not get a duty solicitor on the island because they all hate me. He asked to be sentenced in Portsmouth so a firm there could represent him. After the court moved the case to Portsmouth, Clifton Smith complained he would have to spend quite a lot of money to get there. When he asked for more time, Recorder Jaron Crooknorth said, "No, and this isn't a conversation." The case was adjourned to August the 28th.
Burning peat was fire cause. Firefighters were called to the site of a recent 60-acre wildfire to extinguish a blaze caused by burning peat on Tuesday. Crews were called out to Head and Warren in West Wight shortly after midday to a fire measuring approximately 2 metres by 2 metres. The fire was extinguished using 2 knapsack sprayers, and crews returned to the station at around 1 p.m. Head and Warren saw a major emergency response following a wildfire in July, which raged for several days. At its height, 80 firefighters from the island and across the south of England fought the blaze, with support from specialist vehicles and a helicopter carrying out water drops. The fire was believed to be man-made. Due to the ongoing spell of hot and dry conditions, Hampshire and Isle of Wight Fire and Rescue Service are urging the public to dispose of cigarettes safely, never light barbecues, campfires or fire pits in the countryside, and to take litter home, warning that glass bottles can magnify sunlight and start fires.
Shoplifter hid items in pants. A shoplifter who stole items by stuffing them in his pants has been sentenced. Brandon Atkins, 26, of Lavender Way in Newport, pleaded guilty to shoplifting various items, including vodka, on June the 3rd and June the 7th. He changed his plea from the initial hearing in June. Prosecuting Liz Miller told the court Atkins had seen by a member of staff at Pan stores taking food and drink. CCTV footage then showed Atkins taking items from the shelves and putting them inside his pants before leaving the shop without paying. At Central Stores in Gunville, Atkins took 4 bottles of AU vodka from the display in the shop without paying. Defending, Michael McGoldrick told the court he was at a loss to understand why Atkins had originally pleaded not guilty to the theft. Atkins was previously sentenced to 5 months in custody, suspended for 18 months in March. He spent 4 weeks on remand. He was released from custody and ordered to pay £180 in compensation.
Volunteers recognised for protecting red squirrels. 2 dedicated wildlife volunteers have been recognised for their long-standing commitment to protecting red squirrels on the Isle of Wight. The White Squirrel Project Volunteer Trophy has been awarded to Bob and Jackie Wilson, who have spent many years supporting the conservation of the island's native reds. Helen Butler, founder and manager of the White Squirrel Project, said, "They are absolute stalwarts when it comes to looking after our precious red squirrels, and have been doing so for a very long time. This is on top of taking in hedgehogs. Jackie is well known as the Hedgehog Lady. We need more people like Bob and Jackie. The White Squirrel Project is appealing for more volunteers to help care for sick, injured or orphan red squirrels. Even transporting animals to a vet can make a difference, with the White Squirrel Project adding they will cover any vet bills incurred for red squirrels on the island." Ms Butler also highlighted the national importance of the Isle of Wight for red squirrels and encouraged the public to report sightings to support ongoing monitoring.
Writer publishes 3rd murder mystery play. An island playwright has published her 3rd murder mystery script. Cheryl May, who writes under the name Cheryl Barrett, has seen her latest work, Blue Murder on the Blue Yonder, released by Lazy Bee Scripts. The play unfolds on a yacht in the Mediterranean in 1937, featuring the hapless Inspector Mayday and a group of wealthy individuals and film stars. The audience participates in the interrogation, adding an interactive element to the show. Cheryl said, "We seem to be a nation of armchair detectives who love to solve clues, and a murder mystery evening brings people together in a social setting. Though I must admit, although I've been to a few events, I can never work out who the murderer is." Her 2 earlier scripts, Blue Murder at Bluestone Hall and Blue Murder at the Blue Parrot, are set in the 1920s and have become popular for their easy staging and period costume appeal. These productions often sell out, proving a good fundraiser for amateur dramatic groups. Cheryl's creativity extends beyond murder mysteries. She is also a poet, singer, performer and director, with published works including Not Just Desserts, her debut poetry book. As president of the Isle of Wight Federation of Townswomen's Guilds, she has been asked to write a murder mystery for a federation event in November.
Awesome support for rowing clubs. A new set of oars is helping to keep community rowing on course. The Island Gig Rowing Club has welcomed the arrival of essential kit thanks to the generosity of sponsors, with thanks extended to Simon Scott Jackson of SSJ Contractors, the Jupp family, the Davis family, Brian and Lorraine Harley, Bembridge Parish Council and Marianne Sullivan. The new equipment will support both seasoned rowers and newcomers, making the sport more accessible to people of all ages and abilities, said the club. Sandy Gallard Jupp, chair of Island Gig Rowing Club, said, "We are incredibly grateful to everyone who supported us in purchasing these new oars. Without the generosity of our sponsors, this would not have been possible. Their support allows us to continue providing rowing opportunities for the community all year round." Founded 3 years ago in Bembridge, the club is now based at Island Harbour Marina and has grown into a vibrant community promoting Cornish gig rowing as a way to enjoy fitness, teamwork and well-being. To celebrate the milestone, the club will hold an open day on August 22nd, inviting the public to meet the team and try gig rowing. No experience is necessary to take part.
Man loses 6 stone through football. A man has lost nearly 6.5 stone through a football-based weight loss scheme, which has had both physical and mental health benefits to him. Robert Tiller has shed the weight through the Man vs. Fat football programme, with places funded by Isle of Wight Council through Glogie IW Isle of Wight. Mr. Tiller creates the scheme with the changing not only of his physical health, but his mental well-being too. Man vs. Fat football is open to men on the Isle of Wight with a BMI over 27.5 and offers a first 14-week season free of charge for Isle of Wight residents, those who work on the island or are registered to a GP in the county. He said, "I'd tried dieting in the past, but after a few weeks or months I fell back into bad habits, and before I knew it I was putting back on the weight I had lost. But in the last 8 months I've been able to stay consistent and disciplined, and with the support of my coaches and club mates as well as my friends and family, I've been able to lose nearly 6.5 stone, and I feel so much happier and healthier for it." The scheme combines a weekly weigh-ins with 28-minute games of small-sided football, awarding extra goals for team weight loss. Mr. Tiller, who joined the Sandown Club when he weighed nearly 19 stone, said the benefits have gone far beyond the scales. He said, "Being a part of such a large group of people who are all there for the same reason has been fantastic for me. I've made a lot of friends, and we have a great community spirit in the club. Being a part of Man vs. Fat has improved my physical and mental health greatly." He also praised the support from coaches and club members. He said, "Our coach, Colin, and our assistant coaches, Rich and Kev, are extremely encouraging. The whole club has a fantastic bunch of guys who are supported. The whole club has a fantastic bunch of guys who are supportive of one another and made me feel welcome and part of the club from day one. Sessions are held on Tuesdays at 7:30 p.m. at the Bay Church of England School on the secondary site in Sandown, and Fridays at 6:30 p.m. at Cowes Enterprise College.
RNLI responds to inaccurate claims over redundancies by Zach Saunders. The RNLI has defended its handling of planned redundancies at the Inshore Lifeboat Centre in East Cowes after workers voted to stage 3 days of strike action. The response comes after Unite the Union announced that workers are set to strike on August 11th, 19th and 25th in a dispute over redundancy terms. The union said industrial action was backed by members after talks at Conciliation Service ACAS broke down. Unite claimed the RNLI had refused to improve its redundancy offer, following plans to close the East Cowes site by 2028 and move production to Poole. RNLI Chief Engineer and Technical Director Ross Baverclough said, "While we are disappointed industrial action is being considered, the well-being of our employees has been at the heart of our approach from the very beginning, and we will continue to provide support to all our staff. Unite's statement misrepresents and does not accurately reflect the extensive engagement and the sincere efforts that have been made to support our colleagues throughout this period of change. We have been responsive and engaged with Unite when they have made themselves available. The RNLI said it had developed a comprehensive transition plan during formal consultation with staff, including employee forums, drop-in sessions, and one-to-one meetings. According to the charity, the package includes voluntary redundancy opportunities, redeployment, relocation support, career transition assistance, and guaranteed job opportunities in pool for production employees. Unite previously said relocating to pool would not be financially viable for many workers and would have a significant impact on their families. Mr. Barraclough said the RNLI had committed to providing financial and transitional support for staff choosing to relocate. He added, "Our priority continues to be focused on listening to our employees and working closely with their representatives to shape and, where appropriate, enhance the support available to them. We are mindful that we are a charity and must always consider this when spending donors' money. The enhanced package we have offered goes above statutory requirement and compares positively across the charity sector." The RNLI said the phased transition was to give employees as much notice as possible while maintaining the charity's life-saving service. They said the organisation remained committed to working with Unite and employee representatives.
Runners excel in Road Race League. Island athletes have excelled in the Hampshire Road Race League with a standout performance from Joshua Price. Price of Vectis Academy race team was crowned the overall league winner after a season of consistent dominance. He secured victories in the New Forest 10 miles, Solent Half Marathon and Alton 10-mile races, along with 8 additional podium finishes. His all-round performance was key to his overall title win. The Ride Harriers, Vectis Academy and Isle of Wight Road Runners represented the island throughout the season. The league saw participation from numerous clubs across Hampshire with fierce competition. Nevertheless, the island's runners made their presence felt, with several finishing in the top 50 overall. Gary Marshall of Ride Harriers claimed second place, closely following Price. Daniel Firmage and Christopher Till secured 5th and 8th places respectively. In the women's competition, Becky Stiles finished 20th overall for Vectis Academy, with other notable performances from Jade Rand and Karen Phillips. With the 2026 league now concluded, Joshua Price's victory seals a memorable season for Vectis Academy race team. The team, along with the Isle of Wight Road Runners, will be promoted to higher leagues next season.
Trio tackle triathlons. 3 white triathletes have taken on major events across the United Kingdom. In Nottingham, Dean Pike faced unexpected challenges at the Outlaw Ironman Triathlon due to blue-green algae cancelling the swim. He completed a bonus 3.8-mile run, battled crosswinds and ran a marathon, finishing in an impressive 10 hours, 46 minutes, 11 seconds. Pike recovered from a serious injury last year. Katie Penn made her standard distance debut at Dorney Lake navigating murky swim conditions and a fast 8-lap bike course. She completed the 10-kilometre run, finishing in 2 hours, 54 minutes, 10 seconds. Annette Hickman competed in the London T100 Olympic triathlon, experiencing a dramatic bike mount mishap and confusion from course signage. Despite the setbacks, she finished the run smiling and declared she was already planning the next one.
Days gone by. The county press has been bringing the news to islanders since 1884. We've delved into the archives. 125 years ago, in August 1901, the County Council held a meeting to discuss a suitable site for the island memorial to the late Queen Victoria, with the choice between the Newport Market site and in front of the County Press buildings at Node Hill. The Newport Market site was chosen, although there was concern that a monument might seem inappropriate among cattle, pigs and sheep at the market. The Sandringham steamer began running 6 days a week between Seaview and Ryde.
And from the County Press 100 years ago in August 1926, a group of residents from Shanklin and Ventnor were taken ill while touring the island when a sudden illness struck 3 motor coach drivers and 6 or 7 passengers. And a 15-year-old girl and her father rescued a young bather in front of crowds of holidaymakers after Londoner Jeannie Cooper, a strong swimmer, tried to help the girl alone but was dragged underwater.
75 years ago, in August 1951, holidaymakers on a fishing trip were rescued off Fort Victoria, Yarmouth, after their outboard motor was swept away. Heavy downpours caused a depressing bank holiday weekend. 10 London boys aged 13 to 15 appeared on theft charges arising from a camping holiday in Sandown.
And 50 years ago, in August 1976, Labour councillor Maurice Barton left his party after 15 years and joined the Liberals, telling the county press he could not support the government's policies. And the Home Office expressed concern after 3 maximum security prisoners escaped from Parkhurst, with Minister of State Lord Harris spending 2 days on the island inspecting the prisons. And female computer operators were allowed onto the battlements of the Royal Yacht Squadron for the first time and played a key role in the results service during Cows Week. And lastly, fire destroyed about 30 acres of farmland and came within a quarter of a mile of Brystone village. Crews from Newport, East Cowes and Freshwater fought the blaze for several hours, using a constant water supply from a dammed stream.
Volunteers restore the graves of lost heroes. The Victoria Cross Trust visited the Isle of Wight for a 2nd year running. The voluntary Victoria Cross Trust team travelled to the island from their Yorkshire homes. Their aim is to examine and restore the graves of Victoria Cross recipients all over Britain, and there are 4 such graves on the island. While the team are here, they are very willing to clean other graves where other service people are buried. Last year they noticed Whippingham churchyard had many of these. At Osborne House from 1904 until 2000, there was a convalescent home for officers. At first it was just for Army and Navy officers, and later RAF officers, recovering from injuries they received during the First and Second World War. Not all of the men recovered from their injuries, dying at Osborne. The bare facts are recorded on their gravestones, sometimes with their regimental crest. Many of these servicemen were overners, so there are no descendants on the island to look after the graves. The volunteer gardeners at Whippingham do their best, but as every gardener knows, everything keeps growing. Lichen covers the inscriptions, soon making them illegible. The large churchyard now looks so much better after the work of the Victoria Cross Trust. They even managed to set upright the headstone of the grandmother of a VC recipient, which was leaning at a worrying angle, and then cleaned it. 4 graves of Osborne Naval College cadets were also cleaned, 4 of whom died in the measles epidemic of 1917. The boys, intending to become Navy officers, died before their 15th birthdays. In all, more than 80 headstone cleans and restorations were undertaken in 5 days at no cost. The men visited Newport St Paul's Churchyard, East Cowes Kingston Road Cemetery, Ryde, Shanklin and Northwood cemeteries, and St Michael's Church at Shalfleet. Once a section of a graveyard has been so rapidly and excellently improved, it gives the local voluntary gardening teams an incentive to carry on with the good work. The churchyards and cemeteries have so many stories to tell and are a great part of the historical character of the island. The work was supported by donations in kind by Red Funnel, the Veteran Hotel in Ryde, through accommodation, and the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Fire and Rescue Service, with additional support from the Vectis Services Lodge and Kevin Cochran Transport and Plant Hire. The Victoria Cross Trust relies heavily on donations for their running expenses. Go to their website to donate. These men worked so hard and deserve as much support as we can give.
My View, an article by Rob Johnson of the Isle of Wight Chamber of Commerce. Isle of Wight needs to effectively seize opportunity. Since my last column, we've witnessed another rapid change in UK government leadership and in local council appointments. I've had the pleasure of spending time with both MPs, the new leader of the council, new councillors, the new Chief Executive Officer for the Hampshire and Solent Mayoral Authority, and the Police and Crime Commissioner, all of whom have a huge influence on the prosperity of the island. Government announcements have continued to move devolution forward across England, with Hampshire and the Solent given the green light to progress towards a mayoral strategic authority, placing greater responsibility for growth, transport, skills and infrastructure closer to the communities they affect. Before votes are cast, residents and businesses need a clear understanding of what this new authority will do and how it will affect their daily lives, and candidates need to be equally clear about what they stand for. These changes work best when people choose based on facts rather than slogans, so I'd encourage everyone to be inquisitive ahead of the appointment and not do a Brexit where more people research what it meant after the vote than before. Electing a regional mayor is one of the most significant political changes our area has seen in a generation, with real influence over investment and public services. Businesses need to engage with the debate early and help shape the agenda, rather than simply react once decisions are made. I recently met Dr. Ruth Adams, newly appointed Chief Executive of the Hampshire and Solent Combined County Authority, to discuss what these changes mean for the Isle of Wight. There's a genuine desire to understand the island's unique circumstances and ensure devolution benefits the whole area, not just the mainland centres. I heard a similar message from Donna Jones, Hampshire's Police and Crime Commissioner, who spoke openly about the opportunities devolution presents and her own interest as a future mayoral candidate. As timings and candidates are confirmed, the public needs to understand who will lead this authority and what vision they have for the region. The scale of opportunity is significant, with substantial investment and devolved powers over skills, transport, housing, and economic development. The challenge is turning that into tangible improvements for local businesses and residents. For the Chamber, the priority remains unchanged: better connectivity, stronger support for business growth, skills investment, and decision-making that recognises the realities of being an island economy. Devolution shouldn't simply move bureaucracy from Westminster to somewhere closer to home. It must create a system that understands and acts on local needs. The timeline itself remains a moving target. Dates have changed and structures evolved, but that uncertainty reinforces an important point. The decisions being taken now, before a mayor is even elected, may prove just as important as those taken afterwards. It's vital the Isle of Wight is involved in those conversations from the outset, and that our newly elected councillors understand the scale of opportunity to work on large-scale problem solving for the island. The Isle of Wight punches above its weight. World-class manufacturers, innovative tech businesses, thriving tourism and hospitality, and a growing reputation in renewable energy and advanced engineering. Yet we also face familiar challenges around transport, workforce availability and productivity. A stronger regional voice could help, but only if the island is properly represented at the table. That's why the coming months and years matter. As governance structures mature and mayoral candidates set out their visions, there's a real opportunity for businesses to shape the future direction of our region, and the Chamber will keep making the case for the Isle of Wight. Devolution is not a silver bullet, but approached correctly, it could give local leaders the platform to make more informed decisions, attract greater investment, and build a stronger economy for future generations. The question now isn't whether change is coming, it's how effectively we seize the opportunity.
Countryfile shines a light on Isle of Wight's underwater world. Viewers of BBC Countryfile will have seen the episode Wonders of the Isle of Wight on June the 7th. The episode showcased an array of local conservation work across the island, including the National Trust and Hampshire and Isle of Wight Wildlife Trust, but also featured myself, local marine biologist and underwater photographer Theo Vickers. My segment focused on part of my PhD research with the University of Portsmouth, deployed, baited remote underwater video stations in an Isle of Wight seagrass meadow with presenter Joe Crowley. In the field, Joe and myself were able to deploy 2 units into the seagrass meadow using paddleboards, observing European spider crabs and grey mullet in the footage. Fellow PhD student Joe Sargent also acted as an in-water spotter, encountering 2 small spotted cat sharks or dogfish in the shallows, a common inshore shark species around the Isle of Wight. BRUVS are a widely used tool for monitoring marine fish, including sharks and rays across the globe, and use bait to bring species within view of the camera station. I am using these camera units to survey the distribution and abundance of our local sharks and rays in the island's inshore waters for the first time. The aim is to gather important baseline data that can help improve local conservation and management for these key marine predators. Of our local sharks and rays, my research will particularly focus on the common stingray, a native but elusive species that occurs in the island's Solent shallows during summer. Little is known, however, about their local ecology, population structure, or vulnerability. These are key questions my research will also look to answer in the coming years, shining a light on the lives of stingrays in the island's waters, an exciting island species very few realise inhabits our marine environment.
Gardening advice from Thomas Rutter in an article headed "Even the smallest of outdoor spaces can attract birds and pollinators." Thomas Rutter has gardened in many locations, from glorious private estates in Tuscany to iconic gardens closer to home, including Sissinghurst, Lowther Castle and Iford Manor. When not at work, he lovingly tends his 5 metres by 1 metre balcony garden on the 4th floor of a block of flats in inner-city Tottenham, and is proof of the pudding that gardeners with small outside spaces can all do their bit for biodiversity. Any small space, whether it's a window ledge or a crack in the wall or balcony or something larger like a small terrace, all have value, says Rutter, 35, whose latest book, The Ethical Gardener, demonstrates how we can help biodiversity in large and small spaces. I have a small number of pots on some saucers which are full of water. I can't tell you the number of birds that have visited my balcony in the last week for water. It's very industrial where I am, and the number of hoverflies and insects that are passing through, even with just a small handful of pots on a very small balcony in Tottenham, is quite remarkable. His top suggestions for helping biodiversity in small gardens include 1. Choose suitable plants for small spaces. This year, plants which have thrived on his balcony, which is south-facing but in a wind tunnel, include 2 varieties of fennel, which have been covered in pretty yellow flowers. Pollinators love them, but they have moved gently with the wind, and because they have a filigree leaf, they haven't been too affected by the heat wave. Other winners have included Microagastache, species Pelargoniums and Verbena bonariensis. Achillea has done quite well, which you sometimes see on the side of the road or in meadows, but actually in a pot that has done remarkably well, and a few salvias. Rudbeckias in pots lengthen the season, flowering later on in summer and hopefully into autumn. Point 2. Consider evergreens. They might not be as showy or colourful as other plants, but they do have worth for biodiversity. If you thought about growing ivy vertically, trailing it across the end of a balcony, or covering a wall, you only need one pot to do that. And ivy has wonderful food for pollinators in autumn, but also habitat, sheltering insects over the winter, or nesting birds in spring. Point 3. Think about one tree. A large pot should be able to accommodate a tree. It's great because it provides structure and a bit of shade, which can protect younger plants underneath it as well when the summer gets quite challenging. If you're thinking about spring blossom, there's nothing that will benefit those early to rise pollinators more. It might be a crabapple or cherry tree, and you'll find masses of pollinators around them in early spring. Other good conditions for pots include amelanchiers, which don't mind a bit of shade and produce pretty blossom and can easily be kept in check, while elaeagnus or arbutus also bear fruits as well as blossom. Point 4. Create interest with underplanting. Underplant an evergreen tree with colourful annuals, thinking about what will fill that gap for about 3 months. Alternatively, you could choose bulbs. Point 5. Try to add water, even if it's a small bird bath or a saucer under your pot, which is taking the excess from watering. It's surprising which birds will find a balcony to get a drink. Point 6. Leave a messy corner. If you have space, leave a small messy corner. For instance, a few pots that have gone a bit wild, or a shrub that you don't cut back, which will provide sheltering spots for wildlife. And lastly, help wildlife. Cascade trailing plants over your balcony using window boxes, which just slot onto the edge of your railings. Even a few floors up, pollinators will find them.
Vikings invade at Free Summer Festival. Vikings will be invading Arreton Barns this summer as the Wolfheim Viking Festival prepares to entertain. The free family event, hosted by the Wolfguard Reenactment Society, will drop anchor at the attraction on Main Road, Arreton, on August the 8th and 9th. Visitors can step back in time and explore a living history encampment, watch reenactment battles, and discover what life was like in the Viking Age. There will also be crafts, archery, axe throwing, Viking sagas, and a rune hunt, with organisers promising plenty more activities throughout the weekend. Donations will be welcomed in support of charity, the White Brainy Bunch. The festival will run from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. each day.
And a selection of other local events coming in the next few days. Friday the 7th of August, International Beer Day at Goddard's Brewery from 11 a.m. Saturday the 8th of August, 1940s weekend at Goddard's Brewery. That also is from 11 a.m. and runs both Saturday and Sunday. Also Saturday the 8th of August, a summer show at the Freshwater Horticultural Society. This is from 1 to 4 p.m. Lastly, on Sunday the 9th of August, last white of the bicentenary proms. That runs from 4:15 p.m. and is free. That takes place at Northwood House, Cowes.
On Thursday the 13th of August, the Vectis Brass Band concert at 8 p.m. This is a free outdoor bandstand concert by Vectis Brass Band, Rilston Gardens Bandstand, 10 Popham Road, Shanklin. On Saturday the 15th of August, live music from Tapestry Duo at 7:30 p.m. Join us on Saturday the 15th of August, 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. at Goddard's Brewery for a relaxed evening of live acoustic music with Tapestry Duo. Goddard's Brewery Limited, Branston. Ferry Fair Divide by Richard Altrincham, East Cowes. The county press loves a celebrity on the island story, but its coverage of BBC presenter Alex Jones enjoying a 4-day Isle of Wight holiday misses the point entirely. For most residents, the Solent isn't a carefree escape, it's a financial barrier. Peak season car returns can climb towards £500, with dynamic pricing pushing costs far beyond local wages. Over 10 years, ferry fares have risen dramatically, leaving essential travel for work, healthcare and education increasingly unaffordable. So while the paper celebrates another well-paid media figure breezing over for a short break, islanders are reminded that only those on BBC salaries can treat the crossing as casual. The ferry is a monopoly, not a lifestyle accessory. A fixed link would finally give the island the basic accessibility every other UK community enjoys, replacing a wealth-filtered crossing with a fair, reliable connection.
Public meeting over sewage woes from Marianne Rumans of Bembridge. Southern Water's desire to reopen an aged, disused sewerage pipe at the Point in Bembridge is dangerous and disgraceful. Reopening and using damaged outlets can cause serious environmental and health problems, both to people and marine life, and could lead to a swimming ban. It is officially recognised that it is a human universal right for us to be able to use clean water, also a right to a clean environment, therefore a human right to a clean and sustainable ocean, not to swim amongst poo, and not a dumping ground for constant effluents upon our most beautiful beaches. This image tarnishes our image as a seaside paradise, also many people's livelihoods in the tourist industry. We are paying an exorbitant amount for our water services and expect Southern Water to provide now. The group of local regular swimmers will be holding a public consultation meeting on Saturday, August 22nd at 11 a.m. on Bembridge Village Green, just left to Point Beach. Please come, everyone welcome.
A feasibility study on water supply. A letter by Mark Schroeder of Cowes. As this summer's temporary use ban and Southern Water's continuing drought level 2 status for the island remind us, our water supply is under sustained pressure. A third of our drinking water still crosses the Solent from the River Test, a chalk stream now protected from further abstraction. Southern Water's own strategy documents point to recycling, bulk transfer and desalination as the future. Yet locally we appear to be overlooking an existing asset, our disused reservoirs. Moorgreen Reservoir Park in Cowes is a case in point. Its name still tells its own story. This council-owned green space off Moorgreen Road, approximately 40 metres across and 4 metres deep, could hold an estimated 4.5 million litres of fresh water. There will be others like it across the island, sites quietly repurposed as amenity land once their original function was retired. We have already seen where this drift can lead. The former Somerton Reservoir, also in Cowes, spent years as disused land before being approved for 146 homes. Once built over, that capacity is gone for good. With climate change bringing longer, hotter summers and the island's population still growing, decommissioning working water infrastructure without at least assessing its future value looks short-sighted. I am not proposing these sites are the whole answer, but before any more are lost to development, they deserve a proper feasibility study, structural condition, cost of recommissioning, and integration with newer approaches such as solar-powered desalination and increasingly viable technology given falling costs of solar generation. I would welcome the Isle of Wight Council and Southern Water taking a fresh look at what we already have beneath our feet before deciding it has no further use.
So it's goodbye from myself, John, wishing you an enjoyable weekend and hoping you're managing to keep cool.
And from me, Carolyn. The BBC In Touch programme follows, and the scaffolding news follows that.
Hello. Later today, as the curtain comes down on the Commonwealth Games, we're going to be picking out the highlights and assessing its significance for disabled athletes.
We train with the Olympic and Paralympic together. It's like a breath of fresh air when I first went up there because I've never had that sort of experience before.
But first, when it comes to causes of stress, one right up there with bereavement and divorce is moving house. Potentially all the more stressful if you're getting on a bit and have lost or are losing your sight. It's certainly a prospect which is distressing a group of war veterans who thought they'd been promised a home for life on a site purchased for that purpose just after the Second World War, but who just over a year ago were told that the site would have to be sold because the charity running it, Sight Scotland Veterans, had been losing money over the previous 5 years and could no longer afford to run it. Some of the residents have already left the site, others are still clinging on, saying that they don't really know what's going on and are just receiving confusing and mixed messages. Well, in a moment, we're going to be talking to the charity's chief executive. But first, I've been hearing from two residents who are still in their properties, Pete Conahan and Bill Mackey. I began by asking Bill to explain what they'd been told just over a year ago.
We knew there was a meeting, but we didn't understand why it was one household at a time. But then the first household to go down, he came up, knocked on our doors and said, "This is what's happening." So when my wife Heather and I went down for our allotted time, I walked in, I said, "I know why I'm here, I'm not happy." And they said, because they were running out of money, it's their fault, mismanagement of funds. It was the 2nd of June last year. We had to be out by the 1st of June this year. Well, here we are on the 3rd of August, I'm still here.
But Bill, you've now received another letter from West Lothian Council basically saying that you have to give up possession of the house.
That's right. I got one, I think it was in April, and it gave me to the 9th of July to vacate. I phoned them up and I said, "What happens if I'm still here? Don't worry about it." When I got the email the following day, and I thought, gutless, Sight Scotland Veterans, as they are now known, they've gone to the council and saying they're taking me to court to recover the property. I phoned the guy whose name was on it on behalf of the charity, and he said, "Oh, I wouldn't worry about it. We just thought this would speed them up giving you a house." That's not how West Lothian Council work.
So what do you think about all this?
It's mismanagement of funds. And why should we have to suffer? Yes, it's a charity. And yes, the charity needs to look at the bigger picture. To be quite honest with you, these guys haven't dealt with it properly. They just thought, right, you're going to be out with the 1st of June, goodbye. They're doing nothing to help us move. And I feel sorry for Pete because Pete lives on his own.
Well, let me bring in Pete Connahan. You've been really hanging on for now over a year, thinking that this might happen, might not happen. What's it been like?
It's not a way to live. I have several things, as a lot of the residents here have, health conditions and so on. So in the last 12 months, I've had my medication upped on like 3 or 4 occasions because of epilepsy caused by stress.
You served in the Gulf War, in Sierra Leone, in Kosovo.
That's right.
What do you feel about what's happening to you here?
Well, I think what's happening, as Bill has said there, is grossly unfair. I'm one of the people who, with my daughter, sold a house in order to come along here to live. But we find ourselves trying to work out what is going on next because no information is incoming.
Did you feel you had a home for life? A lot of people have said that to us.
Yes.
Were you actually told that?
Absolutely, totally and utterly.
Can I ask you, why would it be so bad for you to move?
Well, the reason personally for myself is that there are no houses available that are suitable. We are in a housing crisis. So it's abominable that we should be getting evicted. Bear in mind that reference any eviction, we have not received any official eviction notice.
But just hanging on, basically.
One day at a time, hanging on. I have carers who visit me 3 times in a day. The stress levels is totally unfair. There has been no correspondence from Sight Scotland veterans to any of the occupants. It's out of order. Totally, grossly unfair.
Just finally, back to Bill, what do you think is the next move? I mean, given what you and Pete have explained, what do you do next?
They're doing absolutely nothing to help us find houses. It's a case of go. If they want us out, I'm going to dig my heels in, not just for my family, but for Pete and all the others, because there's 10 properties still occupied here. We're all sticking together. But as Pete has just said, Sight Scotland veterans, they've clammed up, possibly because they haven't got a clue what they're doing.
Well, that was Bill Mackey and Pete Connahan. Listening to that is Sight Scotland Veterans Chief Executive, Craig Spalding. Craig, why have you found it necessary to do this? I mean, on the face of it, it is no way to treat sight-impaired war veterans, the very people you were set up to help.
We support around about 1,600 visually impaired veterans across the length and breadth of Scotland. And that number has been increasing steadily year on year. The support that we provide ranges from advice on some independent living skills, support with financial management, all the way through to rehabilitation following vision impairment. The cost of running our charity runs into millions of pounds every year, and we don't have a steady stream of income to support that. So the reality of it is that we will run out of money early into the next decade, maybe as early as 2031 to 2032.
Even though it's on record in your accounts that, you know, despite these losses, the charity has reserves of around £33 million.
Yes.
Isn't the whole point of reserves to be able to meet your moral, if not your legal commitments, even if things have gone wrong?
So the point of reserves is to keep them in reserve so that in case you need to dip into them through the running of your charity. The reality is that we have to rely on using our reserves to actually run the operation of the charity.
But several of the residents have told us that they understood, indeed, that they'd been told that they'd got a home for life. This is a breach of faith, isn't it?
Well, that is one perspective there. Our records and the documents that we have do not show that those conversations have taken place. And in fact, all of the 10 residents that are on site there have what are known as short assured tenancies in Scotland. So we are trying to work with them to find a positive solution. I think it's a bit unfortunate if people feel that there's been no communication, because we have communicated consistently and clearly, both on an individual basis and as in group settings as well, with all the residents, if they prefer to meet together as well, to take them along this journey.
You understand surely though that however capable visually impaired people are, there are considerable difficulties in negotiating and securing a new home, you know, mounds of paperwork, new technology, assessing the suitability of a new home without being able to see it. How is it that people therefore don't feel they know what's going on or feel that the help which has been promised and which you're saying you give hasn't really materialised for some of them?
I'm in conversation with a lot of the individuals. A lot of members of my team are in conversations with a lot of the individuals. And I think it's important to highlight here that 5 out of the 10 remaining tenants there are veterans with a vision impairment. The other 5 are not. But we are helping all 10 of those residents in ways that we can to link them in with the right kind of people, to do things like support them in the ways that you've described about doing suitability assessments on future properties there, but also to go beyond the normal waiting list and problems that they might find by just putting themselves onto a local authority waiting list.
So when people say that they haven't been offered the help in navigating the whole business of getting a new house, you say that isn't true?
So if people are feeling that they're not receiving the support, my door is always open and I'd be more than happy to talk to them and see what else we can do above and beyond what we're already doing.
Is there a time limit? Originally it was said this would have to happen in a year. Is there a time limit now when people will have to leave?
So at this stage, we don't know when that time is, which we do fully understand might add to some of the confusion there. When we communicated a year ago, we said that it would not be within that 12-month period, which has expired. What this depends on is the negotiations that we are having with the developer and then also conversations with the local authority. Once those details are clear, we will have a clearer picture about timelines. What we are not doing is trying to push people out any sooner than that, nor enact any of those evictions before they need to happen. And indeed, what we are hoping is that there are positive solutions for every one of those 10 households there prior to any date being required.
Craig Spalding, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Well, now to a happier story. What seems to have been a really well supported and successful Commonwealth Games came to an end yesterday, and we'll be examining its significance in a moment with the athletes. But first, BBC Scotland's sports news reporter Chris McLaughlin has been tracking notable performances for us by visually impaired athletes. What are the headlines really, Chris?
First of all, as a Scot, I've got to mention Stephen Clegg, haven't we? Gold in the S13 50 metres freestyle, that adding to his 100 metre silver. Huge cheers, as you can imagine, inside Tollcross for Stephen Clegg. And also, listen, sticking to a Scottish theme, Peter, I have to mention Neil Fackie, 19 times world champion, golds in the tandem, the 1,000 metres and the tandem B sprint. The emotion in Neil Fackie when they played Flower of Scotland inside the Sir Chris Hoy Velodrome really was something to behold. Zach Shaw, let's talk about him for England, the T12 sprinter, gold in the 100 metres event, dedicating a victory. In this case, it was to his mum who died last year, and who could not feel touched and emotional when they heard Zach Shaw talking about dedicating his gold for Team England in the sprint.
We, of course, mentioned Ella Letton-Jones, also from Wales. It's been a big games for her too, hasn't it?
It has. She won the very first gold for Team Wales. What a young rising star she is, only 19 years old. Huge, huge future ahead for Ella Letton-Jones. These games have been called the Reimagine Games. They've been described as a blueprint for games in the future, and I am sure that the organisers going forward will see just how much of a success that integration has been, and it can only be good for the sport, right?
Chris, thanks very much for all your help.
No problem, anytime.
Now, just to get perhaps more of the significance of the Commonwealth Games and what it was like to take part, we've assembled 3 of those medalists: Stephen Clegg of Scotland, Ella Letton-Jones of Wales, and cycling silver medalist James Ball, also representing Wales. And quite a lot has been made of the opportunity these games have given to the smaller home countries, to take a fuller part in one of the big international events. Ella, if I can start with you, everyone who watched your events could see how thrilled you were to get your successes. What was it like to be representing Wales on a big stage?
I was just honoured because it clearly, it obviously doesn't happen very often. With the home nations, there's just such a unity within the team, and it was just extra special doing it, holding the dragon as a fluent Welsh speaker as well. I'm really slow at the start of the race, so I kind of told my parents, if I'm way behind, please don't panic. So yeah, and I knew I'd come back strong, and I was just happy to touch second, really.
And you did. Let me bring in James. Ball, what about you? I mean, how often do you get the chance to compete for Wales at this level?
Every 4 years, sadly. That's a bit different with the racing aspect of it, where it goes to the best of 3 on the Saturday. It's a lot of picking yourself up, then racing throughout the day. Really, it's a long old day.
Stephen, has Libby forgiven you yet for missing her wedding to swim in the Commonwealth Games?
Yeah, no, I don't think she was ever too worried about that. I was lucky enough to be able to go to the registrar and do all the legal stuff before I went up to Glasgow, so I got to be a part of it in some way, which is great.
I'd like to ask you all about the fact that this is one of the few chances for disabled athletes to compete in an integrated games alongside non-disabled sports men and women and very big names in the whole field. Is it a big deal?
To start with, I think the para circuit is really established in itself. London set up a really great legacy for Paralympic sport, especially in the UK, but also I think set a standard globally of what we expect for the Paralympic Games now. People always say how great it is for para-athletes to compete along their able-bodied counterparts. I think it's also great for able-bodied athletes to see how we manage that, and sometimes what some of our able-bodied counterparts maybe struggle with a little bit more. We mess around together, we decompress together, we all got along very well, and we had an incredible team.
It's weird too because we train with the Olympic and Paralympic together. It's a breath of fresh air when I first went up there because I've never had that sort of experience before.
Me and Stephen were on a team together 2 weeks before or something like that. So we were split up when we were there, but I think it's really great because we all support each other. And I was just as happy for Stephen winning his medal, even though he's not Welsh. Yeah.
Well, he might be one day.
Yeah.
One more question to you all. Could you ever see the Paralympics absorbed into the Olympics, and if it were, is that necessarily such a good thing?
The Commonwealth Games is a really good step forward. A lot of classes were not involved in the Commonwealth Games, which I think is a shame. I feel maybe we could get overshadowed.
I don't see a world where any broadcaster would show Stephen Clegg's S1200 butterfly over the men's 100-metre sprint and track. That's never going to get broadcasted equitably. And that's just the nature of the society we're in. Hopefully there's a day where that changes. Paralympians are proud of wearing the Agitos on their chest over the Olympic rings, and I think that's a really, really great thing.
So that's 2 for no. James, what about you?
I feel every 4 years we just get bigger and bigger, and it's just tumbling now into this own super event that people got so excited for. Just the buzz on the streets and stuff. It was crazy, and everyone was obviously there purely for the Paralympics. I think it should still be separate. But yeah, the cycling has tried, and we've actually got a World Championships next year, which combines the able-bodied as well. It does pay off. You obviously get the screen time, which we deserve to have.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how listeners react to that. Many congratulations to all of you for your performances, and to Scotland for putting on such a successful games in double quick time. Stephen Clegg, Ella Letton-Jones, James Ball, thank you all.
Thank
you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's it for today. Email us with your thoughts and comments on intouch@bbc.co.uk, or leave us your voice messages on 0161 836 1338. From me, Peter White, and this week's producer, Fern Lulham, goodbye.
Scaffolding and Skips News, week commencing the 10th of August 2026.
Newport area, 62 St James Street, Roach Pittis, 60 to 66 Lugley Street, 121 St James Street, 54D Carisbrook Road. Newport area skips, 36 Chapel Street and 98 Caesars Road.
Ride area, 141 High Street, Morrison's Daily, Union Street, 53 Union Street, 5 Union Street, NatWest Bank, St Thomas's Square, 5 Weeks Road, opposite the Seaview Beach Shop, Seaview. Ride area skips, 115A High Street, 31 George Street, 33 Alfred Street, and Flat 2 Holly House, Ryde Road, Seaview.
Cowes and East Cowes area, the Parade Public Toilets, Bath Road, RMU Court, Bridge Road, and 29 Cross Street. Cowes and East Cowes area skips, 19 Yarborough Road, East Cowes, and Victoria Road, Cowes.
In the Ventnor area, Ventnor Youth Centre, Victoria Street, Rose Inn, Pier Street, and 9 Spring Hill.
And in the Sandown area, 27 High Street, Alverstone Farmhouse, Main Road, Alverstone, and Old Town Hall, High Street, Brading.
In the Yarmouth area, Wheatsheaf Lane.
And Totland area, Dolphin Cottage, Totland Bay.